This video is sponsored by Wondershare. PDFelement is a software developed by Wondershare, providing one of the smoothest and most easiest experiences in editing and annotating PDF files. The best part is while there is a pro-like version available on your desktop, while you're on the go, it's right on your phone and of course on your iPad. All you gotta do is head over to the App Store and download PDFelement Pro, and you'll be greeted with a solid list of features on top of the basics. Wanna highlight, underline, strike out different parts of your text? PDFelement. Want to add comments and callouts for the sake of team efficiency? PDFelement. Want to gain a wide view of all the pages of your PDF file just on your phone screen? PDFelement. Want to write out your signature, save it, and put it in place with, of course, that Apple Pencil of yours? PDFelement. How about filling in and signing some forms? PDFelement. Want a software on the go and on the desktop that performs all of these features in dark mode?
Oh, where do we go?
PDFelement. All links in the description. A big thanks to Wondershare for sponsoring this video. S21 Ultra, biggest phone to start the year. iPhone 12 Pro, biggest phone to end last year. Which one? Now, iPhone take up a big market share of the smartphone market, and then in the Android world, Samsung are right up there as I would pretty much say probably the main competitor. And so these are two of the most important phones of this time frame that I'm sure many people are considering. Now, the thing with this is the differences aren't just in hardware, but the differences are in software, and software is a big part of this that I want to talk about. But first thing I kind of want to dive into are the physical features and the design and the build. Now, in terms of the design, these are actually complete opposites. The iPhone has gone for everything to be boxy and squared off, whereas everything about the S21 Ultra kind of flows into each other. It's really sleek. The camera bump slides into the frame, and then it's all, curves and everything. You got a curved screen as well. So two complete opposites. And I like them both. Now, I don't like the way the camera bump goes into the frame. I prefer the look of the Note 20 Ultra when it comes to the camera bump. And when it comes to the color and material, I 1000% give it to Samsung because of that matte black. It looks so nice. It just looked black on black with everything. Looks so good. I really wish Apple did this. But then I do really like the boxiness because A, it's unique. I'm always for something that's good and unique. And it's both of those things. And it feels really premium. And it feels like kind of a slab of metal and glass. And it just, it feels very nice. But thing is, the Samsung feels really nice as well. And they're both really heavy. And when you carry them for the first time, if you're not used to them, you will notice that. And it adds this premium sense to them both. But you know what? In terms of design, it's really, it's really just your opinion. I'm kind of hard for me to choose here. In terms of the front of the phone, I 1000% choose Samsung. They got the curved edges and they got the hole punch. It just looks 20 times better than the notch on that iPhone display. Plus, I love the curved edges on Samsung. What I do have to say though is when it comes to comfort, this is really small nitpicking, but it is a little bit more comfortable to hold the S21 Ultra because it kind of, due to the rounded edges, it just fits really smoothly into your hand, whereas if you're holding the iPhone, it's kind of a little bit more rough on the edges. But that's, as I say, a tiny thing. It's not really a factor. But to sum it up, they both got really nice designs. The black on black on Samsung looks amazing, and they both feel like money. So at the end of the day, they're pretty equal on that, except for the design on the front. Samsung wins on that. But in terms of the function of the rest of the physical features, they both have their pros and their cons. Apple are still with a lightning port. Me personally, that's a no-go for me. I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. Samsung, of course, with USB-C. They both have good speakers, though the problem is you can block the bottom ones, and then while they have dual speakers, so it comes out of the earpiece, it just doesn't sound good if you block the bottom speakers, and they're both really easy to block. The microphone is also easy to block on both phones because it's right on the bottom. And then something that Apple has, which I think I really like this feature, and this is MagSafe. because I think this has so much potential. It'll allow for quick wireless charging through cases, so that doesn't become a problem. It will allow for countless useful accessories that you can use, all based around MagSafe. Plus, the idea that you can still use your phone while it's wirelessly charging, and the wallet, and there's so many more ideas that could come out, like tripods and mounts, and it just makes life a whole ton easier. And I really like that Apple made this feature, and I really hope companies take advantage of that. Though, since we're comparing, Samsung has wireless power share, which is an amazing feature that Apple should have. And this is, the reverse wireless charging, so you can place your Galaxy Buds or your AirPods or anything that supports Qi wireless charging on top of your S21 Ultra, and it'll start charging too. Talking about physical aspects of your phone, the most important physical aspect is that display of yours. It's the interaction with your device. And I'm just, spoiler alert, Samsung wins this by about, by a lot. First off, Samsung have a bigger display. This isn't necessarily a pro. It's, I do like a smaller form factor of like the iPhone 12 Pro, but when it comes to consuming content, bigger is better. But then when it comes to the actual resolution of the display, you're getting 1440p on the Samsung, in other words 3K, and that's much better than what you're getting with the iPhone. I mean, it's not really noticeable unless you're watching high quality content. But that's just one of the many reasons, in my opinion. A second reason is that Samsung have the curved edges. Now, this is really opinion based. A lot of people don't like the curved edges. I think it's kind of 50-50, but it looks much nicer. But most importantly, what you're getting on the Samsung that you are not getting on the iPhone is 120 Hertz. This means that the display refreshes 120 times per second, so overall it looks a lot smoother when you're scrolling through and everything, and makes the phone as a result feel smoother and faster and more responsive and everything, and just a much nicer experience. The iPhone is still at 60 Hertz. Now, also for the display, Samsung, it's just it's a brighter display, and it looks, the colors are more vivid. It has that Samsung touch which they've always had, and that kind of little extra push, but that's a small thing. The main thing, I think, for me is the 120 Hertz that you're not getting for iPhone, but you are getting on Samsung. So as a result, I end up really liking the Samsung, plus the 1440p is cool. Now, something that Apple do give you though in the display that Samsung don't, Samsung do give you this. They give you haptics, but Apple give you better haptics. And the Samsungs are good, but Apple's is the best. And what are haptics? Haptics are basically the vibrations that the display gives off when you interact with it. But these vibrations, they don't feel like vibrations when you're getting a call. No, they feel like you're actually clicking down on the display. It's really cool. It's actually what Apple use in their trackpads for the MacBook. Believe it or not, when you're on that trackpad, it's not actually clicking. You're getting a vibration. And this is the same thing here on this display, on the iPhone 12 Pro display. And it's really high quality. And for me, haptics is a big deal because good haptics means a super high quality phone. The better the haptics, the better the quality of the phone, because you cannot have good haptics if you have a cheap phone. But then what you get in the display of the Samsung, which you do not get in the display of the iPhone, is a fingerprint. And I 1000% prefer this over Face ID, definitely, because it's much more responsive and it's much faster and it's much easier. The masks is one whole issue, but also if we were to put the masks aside, I do just get a lot of erroring with the Face ID sometimes. I mean, if it's on a table surface, then that becomes hard. Or sometimes just depending on the angle that I'm holding it, or if I'm kind of just leaning on my hand in bed or whatever, and maybe covering a portion of my face, then it doesn't work. And it becomes really tedious, and many times where it just doesn't work. Whereas the Samsung, the ultrasonic fingerprint, it works really, really well. And you can also get facial recognition in Samsung, though, to be fair, you cannot compare that to Face ID in terms of security and how capable it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure it opens with your eyes closed. But anyway, overall, it's just much more convenient to have a fingerprint. And even with this ultrasonic fingerprint in the S21 Ultra, it even works when my thumb is wet. And because of, it's ultrasonic and there's tech behind that I'm not going to go into. But overall, I think most people will agree with me if they're really being practical. The fingerprint is good. Face ID just isn't. I don't think it's ready. And I know it's existed for a long time, but it's not ready to be really, really good. And it still needs a little bit of work. Now for the battery, they're both really, really, really good as well, but I do have to give it over to the Samsung, I think. But you know, it's kind of a thin line. I've got the XNS version of the S21 Ultra, which is supposedly a little bit worse than the Snapdragon version. But something I do have to say is the difference between the Exynos and the Snapdragon with the S21 Ultra is nowhere near as big as it used to be with previous Samsung phones, which is really, really good. The place where it takes the most impact is probably battery life, and you probably get quite a bit better. No, you probably get a little bit better on the Snapdragon, but the Exynos is still really good with 5-6 hours every day, and you know, I could end the day with around 20%. And with the iPhone, yeah, I would end the day with around 15% as well. Maybe, you know, that's a little bit less than the Samsung, but they are both really, really similar. In terms of the processors, they're both really, really good. They're both really capable, and they can handle anything that you throw at it pretty much the same. So, you know, you don't need to worry about it going slow. Though, in terms of future proofing, I think the iPhone 12 Pro will remain faster for longer. That's always the case with iPhones, though. You can expect iPhones to last longer than any other phone usually. Now, each of these processors are powering two completely different operating systems. On one hand, you have iOS 14. On the other hand, you've got Android with a One UI 3.0 skin on top. And they're two really different operating systems. And with iOS, you're getting access to an incredible ecosystem, which they say locks you in. And it locks you in for a reason. It locks you in because it's a really good ecosystem. The connection between an iPhone and an iPad and a Mac and a HomePod or whatever is really, really seamless, better than any other ecosystem in my opinion. iOS gets optimization. iOS gets really, really good support, and you know that you're going to get updates for years to come with iPhone, whereas Android might last about 3 years, maybe 4 years, and then you're going to stop getting updates. And the software overall in Apple is more reliable. It's also more optimized, like in terms of the animations and the way the software is designed. It's more refined and it has less jitters. With One UI 3 though, you are getting an update in this. Like One UI 2 definitely had a lot more jitters than One UI 3 now does. And One UI 3 is actually quite a bit cleaner. And I said this in my S21 Ultra review that I really like this One UI 3 update because it cleans up the jitters and imperfections in previous versions of One UI. But something that One UI has that Android has that Apple does not have is customization. And this is one of the reasons people love Android. You can do so much. I have an app that can record 24/7. Some may have opinions about that, but I think it's a really cool thing. You can't do something like that on iPhone. If you want to record calls and stuff, it's much easier to do this on an Android. In terms of the actual setup of your home screen and you being able to make the phone look the way you want it to look, much, much, much easier on an Android. And there's so many apps and so many different setups and so many different things that you can do on an Android. It's limitless. Android also isn't tied into one ecosystem. You really do have a lot of options when it comes to what you want to choose for what and what default apps you want to use, what browser you want to use, what mail you want to use. And overall, it's much more accustomed to you instead of you having to be accustomed to it, which is more the case with iPhone. Some people like that. Me personally, I prefer the Android style, and that's why I generally prefer Androids. But, you know, these are the facts. These are the things you have to consider when it comes to the operating system, because the operating system it's the brain. It's the personality. If you have a phone with a crappy personality, you're not going to want it. Doesn't matter how good it looks. You want a good personality, so it's important you choose the right one. Now, both these phones spent a lot of money on the cameras, and when it comes to features, Samsung definitely have the advantage. There's a lot more cooler options that you get with Samsung. Apple it's a lot more minimalistic and much more simpler, and it's an they're two very different approaches. But if we're gonna put the features aside just for the minute and compare equal images, like the image from the main camera and the telephoto and the ultra wide, they stick to their original style. Samsung have a lot more sharpening and a lot more saturation, which can be both good to a certain extent, but sometimes not so much. Apple, they kind of tone it down a little bit with more realistic colors and less sharpening, which generally for me is preferable. And when it comes to video as well, Apple definitely they do that better, but then you get more features with Samsung which are more interesting. You got the 8K, and you can zoom in a lot more because you've got those telephoto lenses. And the thing with Samsung is, if we look at the individual cameras, you have an ultra wide that has dual pixel autofocus, meaning you can get macro shots with the ultra wide. You have a main, which is 108 megapixels, meaning there's 108 million pixels as opposed to 12 megapixels in the iPhone. It's cool, and it can add extra detail in a photo, though some will just say they're playing the numbers game. Then Samsung have a 3 times, Apple have a 2 times zoom. But then when it gets really interesting is Samsung have a 10 times zoom, which is actually the max digital zoom that Apple can do. And then because you've got that 10 times optical zoom, that allows for a 30 times digital zoom and then a 100 times digital zoom, which I wouldn't say is usable, but it's cool. But anyway, there are 2 very different approaches to the camera. And you're looking at the photos, you can judge it for yourself. But for me personally, I do like this cooler, more feature-packed approach that Samsung take. But yeah, those are the photos, and to conclude, there are several factors we went over. I mean, we have the cameras to compare. They're both really good cameras, but you're getting more features with Samsung, and it's kind of more of a professional-ish approach that Apple are taking. Then when it comes to software, you have a lot more customization with Samsung and so much more control, but then iPhone, you're getting much more optimization, much more reliability when it comes to software updates, and access to a really strong ecosystem. In terms of the design and the build, they are both incredibly high quality phones, and they both look really, really good. And so, with that information, you can kind of take it as you will. You can look at what you need more: customization or optimization, features or professionalism, MagSafe or reverse wireless charging, just things like that. So you can make the judgment with everything I've provided you in this video, all the information about my general experience and along with the facts that I've given you. And hopefully I've helped you make that decision, so hopefully you can use that. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a like and comment for the sake of the algorithm. Check out my Instagram and Twitter at El-Naggar for a behind the scenes perspective. Everything goes up there first, all the things I'm working on, and you should go follow me anyway, so just do that. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one. Salam.